You have to give me the presenter role.
Oh, what?
The
You didn't
present.
do my
Okay.
job?
Okay.
Okay,
I
we'll
got
make
it. I
this
got
work.
it.
Okay.
Got it. Can you see my screen now?
Yep, looks great.
Okay. So let's get started. Hmm. Okay. So again, thank you for having me here. This is my first time giving a presentation in conference, also talking on this topic. So I will be talking on threat hunting on the dark web. Little about me. My name is Apruv Singh Gautam. I'm a security researcher. I've been into threat intel hunting space for the past 2 years. Currently, I'm a research intern at ICSI, that's in UC Berkeley, and I'm doing threat intelligence research there. I'm pursuing my master's in cybersecurity at Georgia Tech, and some of the hobbies are as you know, I love gaming, and due to COVID it's more of gaming nowadays. I just started into lockpicking and I've been liking it a lot. I do contribute to the security community. I like it. I've been contributing to Cybrary, to Station X, and other local security meetups, and these are my social handles. Let's So this is today's agenda. I will talk about dark web, what dark web is, what is Tor, how to access dark web, why you should hunt on the dark web, different methods to hunt on the dark web. I will talk a little about operational security, that's OPSEC, and why is it necessary for the threat hunting on the dark web. So I'm sure you must have seen this image a million times on the internet, and I will just differentiate between the two, between three. So, surface web is the web that is indexed by search engines. So it's more of index like the sites that are indexed by Google, Bing, or Yahoo, etc. Deep web is the web which is not indexed by the search engine. So most of the sites like database or your server instances come in this part, and it takes majority of the internet. And the dark web is the part where you need some kind of special uh, software to access the dark web. So in this case, we use Tor browser to access the dark web, and there are many forums or marketplaces on the dark web that sell illegal stuff, or some of the time they sell. So you can find many things on the dark web that we'll talk about in the coming slides. So this is the basic difference between the three. Now going to the next one. So how do you access dark web? So there are different companies or different organizations that offer their products. So the majority of the famous ones are the Tor, I2P, and ZeroNet. I will be talking more about the Tor here. So how Tor works is there are three. Basically, it's a three relay system. So there's a entry node, middle node, and the exit node. And node here refers to the volunteer offered systems on which yeah, so it's volunteer offer system that the traffic routes through. So the full form of Tor is the onion router. The onion analogy here is that uh, the traffic goes through so many uh, layers, so that your IP address is hidden or your identity is hidden. So if you can see in this image here, the first node doesn't know the identity of the last node. In this way, and vice versa. So in this way, it hides your real identity, and your data is enveloped into different packets. So it like you can imagine the onion. So it's like that. And the domain for dark web is it's a 16 digit, 16 hexadecimal, and then .onion. So this is also for accessing dark web, you need to have Tor browser or Tor or command line tool. Moving next. So there are many hype, many misconceptions about dark web. Whenever dark web is uh, being talked about, the first thing that people think about is a criminal, or it's a place for cyber criminals. But it's not that. There are many good things on the dark web also. It's haven for people, for journalists who want free speech. So there are many countries where free speech is not it's illegal, so you can't express everything. So people on the dark, they go on the dark web, they uh, talk about it, and it's like it's useful for that. So that's why there are many popular sites like Facebook or NY Times on the dark web. They have their dark web counterparts also, where people just can go and talk about everything. The second thing is, people think that it's illegal to access the dark web, but it's not illegal to access the dark web. Obviously, it's illegal to indulge into criminal activities, but it's completely legal to access the dark web. The other thing is, people think about is it's a vast and mysterious part of the internet, and dark web is so big and it's not comparable to the clear web. But this is not the case. When we talk about the uptime or the availability of the sites, the dark web is not that. So there are less reachable domains on the dark web than on the clear web. So if you think about it, it's really small part of the dark web that's reachable. And yeah, so this was the misconceptions about the dark web. Moving, so we are not talking about the uh, good part of the dark web in this talk. We're talking more about the what criminals do, because that's how researchers benefit. So these are the some of the relevant sites where criminals go and they sell their products, they trade their products. So some of them are like credit cards. So on credit card related forums, credit cards are being dumped. On personal documents, so different personal documents are being sold. Insider threats, different people sell threats related to their company or their organization. So these are some of the relevant sites on the dark web. Now coming to the point why it's important. So as you can see, it's really easy to get these things on the dark web. So for example, SSN, you can get SSN in $1, and a credit card, it's like $20 plus. So it's really easy to get these things on the dark web. Uh, that's why researchers are focusing more on the dark web. And yeah, so experts for 0 days, $150,000. And in the recent news, you might have read like 150,000 cloud database leaked or Facebook account leaked. So these things happen every month or so. So that's why we focus more on the dark web to identify the database leaks. This is just an example of how listings are on the dark web forums or marketplaces. And the coming slides are just the average cost of what you can get on the dark web. So this is just an average cost of one account for different services that you can get on the dark web. And similarly, this is the average cost of tools related to different sectors that you can get on the dark web. Now coming to the hunting part, so why we should focus on the hunt, why we should do hunting on the dark web, or before that, what is threat hunting? So it's like proactively searching for cyber threats. Proactively searching here can mean proactively looking into logs, proactively looking into textual data, which we are doing on the dark web. So we are looking in textual data to get the IOCs, that's indicators of compromise, or new TTPs, that's tactics, techniques, and procedures that attackers use. Most of the time, it's hypothesis based. So there's nothing clear about hunting on the dark web. You just go, most of the time you go blindly, and you get one a clue, you search for it, then you get another clue, search for it. So it's like iterative process and hypothesis based. So also for so after getting data from the dark web, most of the time for analysis, people use machine learning or natural language processing, that's NLP, get the get what we want from the data. So it's like a lot of the data is not useful to the company, useful to the organization that is performing threat hunting. So that's why we have to use analytics or machine learning process to get the data that we want for us. So why it's so serious? Why it's uh, like why threat hunting on the dark web is important? So like I discussed before, there are forums, darknet markets on the dark web. The criminals can most of the time criminals interact with each other. They communicate their new ideas for attacks. They monetize their skills. They trade their weapons. They trade their tools or weapons. So that's why it's important for a researcher or for anyone that's going to the dark web to get some data for their organization. Uh, so uh, like it's necessary. It's you can easily identify different data breaches. You can identify different attack tools. You can identify different TTPs that attackers are using. That's why it's really important to hunt on the dark web. And then another thing that is important is the impacts that the data breaches causes. So if a company got breached, the direct impacts are the personal information or the secrets or the healthcare records that are being dumped on the dark web. The indirect impacts are the reputation. So company's reputation gets lost, or the revenue loss, or nowadays it's legal penalties if your data is breached. So these are some of the things why it's really important for hunting on the dark web. And on the similar lines, the benefits of threat hunting, it's like you can keep up with the latest trends of the attacks, with the latest TTPs that the attackers are using, and the TTPs that attackers were using before, and how the landscape has changed. The main thing is it prepares your SOCs and incident responders to understand or to prepare them if an attack happens, because they already know what TTPs attackers are using, so that they can uh, they can reduce their damage on their organization. Moving, so now coming to the methods, what you can do to hunt on the dark web. So they are basically two things. So one is the human element, and the another is the tool methods. So what tools can you use on the dark web? So I will go over some of the tools that I personally use, or that is most widely used in the industry for the dark web stuff. So these are some of the tools. So most of the tools are written in Python, so that's why Python, I wrote Python here. The second one is Scrapy. So Scrapy is a web scraping tool. That's a Python framework, and Scrapy is useful because it handles multi-threading automatically. You don't have to write different multi-threading code for it. So it handles everything in that framework. That's why Scrapy is really useful. Obviously, Tor. If you want to access the dark web, you need Tor. Onion Scan is a website which you can use to search for any .onion links, or uh, make correlation between different onion links. There are many other websites also, or tools also, which can give you onion links of different forums and different dumb shops or different markets. Privacy. So the thing is, when you're accessing the dark web, when you're accessing Tor, you can't go directly. You can't access Tor directly, because your ISP might block the entry nodes of the uh, Tor. So the entry node IP addresses are public. So your ISP knows that you are accessing Tor. It doesn't know that what you are accessing on Tor, but it does know that you are accessing Tor. So it might block. So you need to go through some kind of proxy. So SOX proxy is used here. So just a basic difference between HTTP proxy and SOX proxy is that SOX proxy is a low-level proxy. It uses SOX protocol, and HTTP proxy, it just routes HTTP data. SOX proxy can route any kind of data, and SOX proxy is used because SOX protocol can't read the data when compared to HTTP proxy. So this also Scrapy doesn't support SOX proxy. That's why we use tools like Privoxy or TSOX that routes our SOX through HTTP and then write in the Scrapy. And there are many other tools. I have seen people using JavaScript also to write these kind of scripts to like go to the dark web and grab the data. But I've been using the tools I've written here. I've been using this for 2 years and I haven't had any problems for me. So that's so yeah, let's go more on Scrapy. So why Scrapy is so good and why you can utilize Scrapy. So you might get overwhelmed with this diagram, but I will go it one by one. So to explain this, just imagine each and every block here is a Python program. So pipeline is a Python program, Spider is a Python program, downloader, middleware, scheduler, everything is a Python program. So starting from Spider, uh, you give your first onion link to the Spider. The Spider sends the request to the engine, and engine is just the middleware or the middle program that communicates with each other, every other Python program. So you go to the engine, the request from the Spider goes to the engine, and then the scheduler. So what scheduler does is scheduler keeps track of every onion links or every links that request and response comes through. So it's like schedules the process, and here the multi-threading concepts comes into picture. So this scheduler schedules each and every request using different threads, and the Scrapy uses threads starting from 8 to 32 and the default is 16. So the request goes through to the scheduler gives it back to the engine, and then it goes to the middleware. Middleware is the Python program where you will write your uh, proxy settings or your login settings. So what I mean by proxy setting is here you will give your Tor IP or Privoxy IP, and the request goes through the proxy. So a request goes through the Tor IP, and then only it can go to the Tor. What I mean by login program is, so for most of the websites or most of the forums on the dark web, it requires login access. You can't go or you can't view the data without logging in or without creating an account. So what most of the people, what you have to do is you have to first create several accounts. Then you can access most of the forums using cookies. And for some, it requires cookies and captcha bypass, as Google doesn't work on Tor. So captcha bypassing is easy because most of the captcha is just image based, and you can use uh, either OCR techniques in Python, or you can use many online services like death by captcha or anti captcha, and they can solve the captcha with under 1 minute or 1 minute or less. So here in middleware you will write this login program also. So the request goes through the proxy, through the login program, and then it goes to the downloader. Downloader is just a simple script that takes the HTML and give it back to the engine. So HTML, you got the whole HTML page. It goes back to the engine. It goes back to the Spider, and the Spider is where you will write the code for getting different HTML elements that you need for your working. So you get the HTML elements, you get the data from the HTML. It goes to the pipeline. Pipeline is where you will define your databases. I personally use Elasticsearch. You can use any database, either SQL or either NoSQL, and it saves into the your database, and this process repeats. So you don't have to give another link. So what Scrapy does is, once you give, you have to give only one link on the spider. When the downloader gets the HTML page, it has a script to get all the links on that particular HTML page, and these all links goes to the scheduler. So everything after first request is automatic, so you don't have to give different links to the Scrapy. That's why Scrapy is so good. I think this is how Scrapy works. So going next. So this was the tools method. Why tool was so what tools you can use to grab data on the dark web. Now coming to the human intelligence or human element. So human intelligence, it's uh, getting data or interacting with the actors. So instead of using technical process, you use humans to interact with the, or you indulge with the attackers or on the dark web. That's why it's most dangerous form, because you don't want your personal information to get to different attackers, or you don't want your company's information to go to the attackers. It's human intelligence is, it just adds value to your tool based method, because it can be useful in attack analysis. Suppose an attack has happened on your organization and you want to verify whether a data breach has happened or not, whether some kind of data is being leaked on the dark web, and if it is being leaked, then it is true or not, or is it really your data, your company's data or not. So this is where human intelligence comes into the picture, and it's basically an equivalent of FBI agent, undercover FBI agent, infiltrating organizations. And that's why it's time consuming. It takes months to years to uh, put your foot into the criminal underground markets, and that's why this is not everyone's cup of tea, but it's really necessary, or it's really important. It adds value to your intelligence threat hunting team. Now, so in for human intelligence, you need some kind of uh, process to hide yourself or to protect yourself. Here comes OPSEC, or operation security, and why you should follow operation security for doing human intelligence. So it's just the actions that you take that prevents your own personal information or your company's information or your operation on the dark web. uh, so it's derived from the US military. It's operation security. These are the steps that you take so that your personal information or PII doesn't leak on the dark web. That includes anywhere from your full name to your date of birth to your SSN, your email address. That just protects you. Most of the time, people think of OPSEC as a, like, people think that, okay, I'm doing human intelligence, I need to apply OPSEC. It should not be like that. It should be in a mindset that operation security is necessary for performing human intelligence. And this is why OPSEC is hard, because we are all humans. We need to apply, we like to brag, or we like to overshare, we like others to see us as intelligent. That's why operation security is hard. And I will go through some of the things that you can uh, keep in mind to maintain your OPSEC. These are things that you keep in mind to hide your real identity any way possible. So the main thing is using some kind of system that you don't have any personal information on. So using a VM or using a lab, so you use the lab just for that purpose. You don't use you don't have any personal information on that particular system. You use Tor over SOCKS, or also a SOCKS proxy doesn't support encryption, so most of the people use VPN over Tor. That's why your data is encrypted. So also OPSEC is not just your, like, you can't just start OPSEC from today if you are doing human intelligence from 2 years before. So you can't just start OPSEC when you think of OPSEC. It just it's like OPSEC should be thought about before starting this human intelligence work. This is why OPSEC is really important. And to get into the dark web, or to get to put your hold onto the dark web, you have to have some kind of persona. So it's like making you make different personas for different forums. It's just the equivalent of FBI undercover agent. He makes his persona. He has a backstory, so you have to have a backstory, where you come from, what you are, what kind of hacker you are, so that you can tell your story to different actors on the dark web. And note taking is really useful here, because uh, you don't want to mix your personas for different websites, and you don't want to reveal your identity just a gist. So this is why you do all these things. The another thing is, so there are many forums that are in different countries, or that are in different languages. So suppose you are on a Russian forum, so you have to change your time zone. You can't be logging in on the Russian forum from US. That just gives your uh, reveals your identity, that you are not from Russia. So it's just these small things that needs to be kept in mind. Also, password manager, it's like for everything you should use password manager. So it's just a normal thing. And I think these were some of the things. There are many other things to keep in mind. Also, another thing is, you have to, so people on dark web, they don't, like actors on the dark web, they don't talk formally. So you have to uh, change your talking style. You have to learn their talking style, and you might have to learn new languages, like I told you, Russian or German. So you have to learn new languages. So you have to have many skills before doing human intelligence work, and before thinking about OPSEC. That's why these two things are hard to do. But if you know how to do it, it's really good. It can help your organization. Uh, in It can help your threat intel team or threat hunting team. So I think that was it. So what we discussed so far was little about dark web, how to access dark web, what dark web is, how Tor works. We talked about dark web forums, marketplaces, what is being sold on the dark web, uh, a little what is threat hunting, why threat hunting on the dark web is really important. We talked more about Scrapy, how Scrapy works, human intelligence, why you should do human intelligence, and why it gives value to your threat intelligence or threat hunting team. And we talked little about operation security. uh, Dark web threat hunting, obviously it's hard, but it's worth the effort, because you don't get intelligence from anywhere else that you get on the dark web. You have to keep operation security always in mind. It's really important. You don't want to uh, reveal your identity, or reveal your operation to some actors. Also, there's one thing, so you have to look at more than one resource. So you have to look on more than one forums or more than one marketplaces. You can't just stick to one marketplace. That's why this is how you cover more bases. And it takes a lot of resource. You can't do it alone. You should have a team that does this kind of work. So some of the team member does ops, human intelligence stuff. Some of the team members use tools to grab data from the dark web. That's why it's a team effort. It takes a lot of resources. These are some of the resources that you can read more about threat hunting on the dark web. The main ones are Recorded Future Insights and Digital Shadows. Read their white papers, read their blogs. They release it like on a weekly basis. So if you want to get to know more about this stuff, you can go into this and read this. I think that was it. Thank you. You can contact me if you want to know more about this. I will be hanging around on Discord. So yeah, thank you. I hope you all like it. This is
Thank you very much,
mm,
Apruv. So you did have a couple questions, and we'll give a couple minutes for people to type in their questions. One is, do you know of any demo of dark web hunting, or are you willing and able to give one?
Well, when I started creating this presentation, many people did ask me about. So I gave this to review to many professionals. So they did ask me about some kind of demo, and I can't release the code, but I've been thinking of creating some kind of demo so that others understand how this all works. So I'm just in the process. I haven't created it, and I don't think there is any on the internet what I have seen. So
Okay, OPSEC is hard. You're right, and it makes it very interesting when it's not even about the things that we do that sometimes get us caught or have our personal information. It's what what other companies get hacked. I still get emails with an old password tattooed to the subject line saying, "Hey, we caught you doing blah blah blah, and I hacked your computer, and here's your password." And it stems back to like a Facebook hack from 2013.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
And do you have any meta resources like I know there are a couple websites like hacker sites, seedy sites like raid forums and whatnot, where you can find database dumps that maybe you didn't have to go scour for them on the dark web, but that's where they came from. Anything like that? Any intermediaries?
I don't have anything in mind right now, but there are websites I have seen. There are there are dumps of different, like from the dark web only. So the thing is, people, so most of the people, they don't go on the dark web. They just get to know about these news from the clear web, because people, like some people might have written or might have posted this on the clear web. So that's why majority of the people get to know this. So there are obviously sites, but I don't have anything in my mind right now.
Also a request, can you share the script that you're talking about?
I can't share the whole code, but if you're talking about the Scrapy, you can just go to the Scrapy website and see how it works, and they have different examples. So if you are like starting into Scrapy, you can just use it and try to maneuver around. So
Got it. Thank you, Karank. I think that's how you pronounce the name. There's a couple comments and questions from Cytisis. Just a FYI, there's a recent update to Tor and how websites are accessed. Apparently new URLs are around 52 characters long.
okay, I must have
let's
missed
see.
it.
And he's apparently working on some similar tools to have video and demos out and available. So awesome. Apruv will be in the Discord channel. If you have any
Yep.
other questions, want to connect with him, Cytisis, if that's how you pronounce the name, I'm sorry. Please hop in there as well if you have a URL you want to share with some of the tools that you're going to publish. So thank you very much, Apruv. Hope you have enjoyed it. I know that we have. OPSEC is hard.
Yeah.